The phone rang at 2:17 in the morning. Lily was asleep on the couch with her piano book still open across her chest. Ethan answered before the second ring finished, because he always answered when it was the hospital. They told him he had collapsed in the staff break room after his shift. They said his heart had finally had enough after 11 years of nights. By the time I reached the hospital, he was awake but looked like a man who had been running on empty for a very long time. The doctor said he needed real rest now, not the kind you grab between shifts. Lily sat on the edge of the bed holding his hand and asked if he could still take her to piano lessons on Thursday. He said yes without even thinking about it. That was always his answer when it came to her. None of us knew then what those 11 years had really meant. We found out later, piece by piece, when the woman from the foundation started asking questions, and the old letters turned up in a box under his bed. Ethan Hale was 39 years old. He had worked the night shift as a security guard at the old conservatory building downtown for 11 years. The building had marble steps and Steinway pianos that cost more than the apartment we lived in, above the laundromat. He walked the hallways while students practiced. He checked the doors at midnight and again at 4 in the morning. Every 2 weeks he brought home just enough money to pay for Lily's 2 lessons with Miss Clara and keep the lights on. He never said he was tired. He set his alarm for 4 in the afternoon every day so he could be awake when Lily came home from school. He made her a snack even though it was breakfast time for him. He listened while she practiced the same 4 measures again and again until she got them right. Then he left for work at 10 at night, kissed the top of her head, and told her to practice the hard part twice more before bed. Lily was 8. She had serious eyes for a little girl, and she drew music notes on everything. Permission slips, homework margins, the steamed-up mirror after her bath. She only ate her peanut butter sandwich if it was cut into perfect triangles. She called her piano Mrs. Keys, and she refused to practice unless she was wearing her lucky socks with the little pianos on them. She asked questions like why some songs made your chest feel tight even when the words were happy. Ethan always answered honestly. He said he did not know, but maybe that was what made the song stay with you. Every evening before he left for the night shift, he reminded her to practice the hard part twice. He never missed one of her recitals. Sometimes he came straight from work, still wearing his uniform, and sat in the back row so he would not disturb anyone. He clapped the loudest when she finished, even when his hands were rough from opening and closing heavy doors all night. One Tuesday in October, Lily had a recital at the conservatory itself. It was the first time she was playing on the big stage. Ethan had worked a double shift the night before because someone called in sick. He was there in his security uniform, standing near the back because he still had to keep an eye on the building. Lily played her Bach minuet and only missed one note. When she finished, she looked for him first. He gave her the smallest nod and the biggest clap. After the recital, the parents stood around in the lobby talking. Eleanor Vance was there. She was 36 years old, and she ran the Vance Music Foundation. The foundation gave lessons to kids who could not afford them, and put on the big spring gala every year. She had straight posture and a coat that looked like it had never been worn on a night shift. She was speaking to her assistant when she noticed Ethan standing a little apart from the other parents in his uniform. Some people treat these things like they do not matter, she said, loud enough for 2 other mothers to hear. If you cannot even look presentable for your child's moment on stage, maybe the lessons are not really the priority you say they are. Her assistant nodded. One mother looked down at her shoes. Another turned away and pretended to check her phone. Ethan heard every word. He did not move. He did not argue. He just watched Lily show her friend the drawing she had made of the piano keys during the performance. When Lily ran over to him, he crouched down so they were eye level and said, "You held the ending. That was the best part." She smiled like he had given her the world. He walked her to the car and drove home. He never mentioned what Eleanor Vance had said. That night he went to work like always, but the comment stayed with Eleanor. She did not know why. The next morning she went back to her office, and the gala was already in trouble. The headliner pianist had canceled. The special piece the foundation had commissioned for the event was hard, and none of the replacements could learn it in 4 days. Her team was making calls and sending messages. Someone on the staff mentioned that the night security guard at the conservatory sometimes stayed after his shift and seemed to know the music better than most of the students. They had already tried to reach Ethan Hale 3 times. He had not answered. He had silenced the phone because Lily had a small fever one night, and he stayed home to sit with her on the couch, even though it meant losing a shift. He did not explain to anyone. He just did what Lily needed. While Ethan was home cutting Lily's toast into triangles and listening to her tell him that the new piece had too many sharps, Eleanor was in a meeting with her board. A junior researcher who had only worked there for 6 weeks spoke up in a quiet voice. "Mr. Hale, the security guard at the conservatory, I saw him one night after everyone had gone. He sat down at the big Steinway in the recital hall and played the whole concerto we commissioned, from memory. He did not miss anything. It sounded like the music was already inside him, waiting to come out." The room went completely quiet. Eleanor stopped moving her pen. She looked out the window for 3 long seconds. Then she stood up. She went to the hospital the next afternoon. Ethan had collapsed that morning after finishing his shift. The doctors said his body had simply reached its limit after years of sleeping during the day and working when most people were home with their families. Lily was already there, sitting on the edge of the bed showing him a drawing she had made of a piano, with sunlight coming through the window. Eleanor introduced herself. She did not say she was sorry for what she had said at the recital. She simply told him they had a problem with the gala piece, and that he seemed to be the only person who understood how it was supposed to sound. Ethan listened without interrupting. He asked one question about the tempo in the second movement. It was a question no one else on her team had thought to ask. Then he said he could talk the replacement pianist through the difficult sections over the phone, but he had to be home by 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon for Lily's regular lesson. Eleanor said they would work around that. He helped. He did it quietly from the hospital bed, and later from the couch in their small apartment after he was discharged. He never brought up the night at the recital. He never asked for anything in return. He just explained the music the way he would have explained it to Lily. Simple, patient, and exact. 3 weeks later, Eleanor came to their apartment above the laundromat. She brought a folder with her. Inside was an offer for a part-time position at the foundation, helping with the music education programs. Normal daytime hours. Enough money that he would not need the night shifts anymore. She said it was because he understood what the music actually needed from the people who played it. Ethan read the paper slowly. Then he looked across the room at Lily, who was practicing in the corner, and had not yet noticed they had a visitor. He folded the paper once and set it on the table. "I will think about it," he said. Eleanor nodded. She watched Lily play for a minute. The little girl was completely focused, her lucky socks on her feet, her head tilted the way it always tilted when she was listening for the next note. Eleanor turned back to Ethan. "How long has she been taking lessons?" she asked. 11 years, he said, since she could reach the keys. I wanted her to have that one thing that was just hers. Eleanor was quiet for a long moment. She had not known. She had only seen the uniform, and the tired eyes, and the way he stood at the back of the room. Before she left, Lily came over from the piano and said, "Dad, the lady from the big piano place is still here. Can she stay and hear the new song? I practiced the hard part twice, like you told me." Ethan looked at Eleanor. She looked back at him. She stayed. She listened to the whole piece. When it was finished, she told Lily it was beautiful. Lily beamed and went back to the piano to play it again. Eleanor stood at the door with Ethan. "You did not have to stay invisible all this time," she said. He watched Lily's back as she played. "I was never invisible to the one person who needed to see me," he answered. Eleanor did not push. She said she would call in a few days. He said that would be fine. She left. Lily watched the car pull away from the window and then turned to her father. "Dad," she said, "why did you work at night for so long?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "So you could keep having your lessons, and so I could be here when you got home from school every day." She thought about that. She drew a small music note on the corner of the windowsill with her finger. "But sometimes you look really tired," she said. He gave her the small smile he only used with her. "It was worth it, Bug." That was the night the pieces started coming together for all of us. We found the old letter later in a box under his bed. It was from a prestigious music school, dated 11 years earlier, the week after Lily's mother had left. They had offered him a full-time teaching position, with normal hours and better pay. On the back of the letter, in pencil, he had written, "Lily's first real lesson is on Tuesday. I cannot miss it. I cannot miss it." We also learned that for years he had been quietly arranging small pieces for the conservatories and student recitals without ever putting his name on them. He had tuned pianos after his shifts when no one was looking. He had even written the melody that became the foundation's commissioned piece, though no one knew it at the time. He had done it all while standing in the dark hallways and coming home in time to hear Lily practice. Eleanor kept calling. The offer stayed open. Ethan went back to fewer night shifts. He started sleeping through more mornings. Lily's playing improved because he was there in the afternoons to catch the small mistakes and show her how to fix them without making her feel bad. One evening a few months later, Eleanor came to the apartment again. This time she stayed for dinner. Lily showed her the new drawing she had made of Mrs. Keys with a little crown on top. Eleanor listened to her practice the piece she had been struggling with. When it was time for her to leave, she stood at the door with Ethan while Lily went back to the piano. "You gave up a lot," Eleanor said. It was not an apology. It was simply the truth. He looked at his daughter. "I got more than I gave up." Eleanor nodded. She did not ask him again about the job offer. She just said she would see them both at the next recital. He said that would be good. Lily played one more piece that night after Eleanor had gone. It was a simple melody Ethan used to hum to her when she was very small, one he had written himself long before she was born. She played it slowly and carefully, the way he had taught her without ever saying the words out loud. When she finished, she turned on the piano bench and looked at him. "This one feels like you, Dad," she said. He sat in the old chair by the window, the one he used to fall asleep in after his shifts, and listened to his daughter play the music he had once thought he would have to keep only in his breath. For the first time in 11 years, he did not have to put on his uniform and walk out into the night when the sun went down. Lily kept practicing. Ethan kept thinking about the offer. Some days he looked at the folder on the table and left it there. Other days he opened it and read the words again. Lily never pushed him. She just kept wearing her lucky socks and cutting her sandwiches into triangles and asking him questions he answered as honestly as he could. One afternoon, Eleanor called and asked if she could stop by after Lily's lesson. She brought a new music book for Lily and a second folder for Ethan. This one had his name already printed on the first page of the contract. Part-time, daytime hours, a small office at the foundation where he could work on arrangements and help students who were struggling with the same pieces he had once stood in the dark listening to. He signed it that evening while Lily was brushing her teeth. He did not make a speech about it. He just put the signed paper back in the folder and left it on the table where Lily would see it in the morning. The next day at school, Lily told her teacher that her dad was going to work at the piano place now. The teacher asked if that meant he would not be so tired anymore. Lily thought about it and said, "I think it means he can hear me practice more, and maybe he can teach me the songs he hums when he thinks I'm not listening." That night, Ethan came home at a normal time. He made dinner while Lily practiced. He did not have to set an alarm for the middle of the night. He sat in the chair by the window and listened to his daughter play until it was time for bed. When she was asleep, he stayed up a little longer. Not because he had to, but because for the first time in 11 years, he did not have to choose between sleep and being there when she woke up. The recital the following month was different. Ethan was not in his security uniform. He sat in the third row with Eleanor on one side and Lily's teacher on the other. When Lily finished her piece, she looked for him first, the way she always did. He was already standing and clapping before anyone else had moved. After the recital, Eleanor walked with them to the car. Lily was holding both their hands and talking about how she had not missed a single note this time. At the car door, Eleanor turned to Ethan. "You could have told me at the beginning," she said. "About the nights? About why?" He shook his head. It was never about telling anyone. It was about making sure she had the lessons. Eleanor looked at Lily, who was already climbing into the back seat and buckling herself in. "She is very lucky." Ethan watched his daughter through the window. "I am the lucky one." Eleanor did not argue. She just nodded and said she would see them both soon. She got into her own car and drove away. Ethan stood there for a minute longer, listening to Lily humming one of her pieces in the back seat. Then he got in and drove them home. That night after Lily was asleep, he sat at the small kitchen table and looked at the contract he had signed. He thought about the 11 years of nights, the letter he had never mailed back accepting the teaching job, the mornings he had forced himself to stay awake so he could hear Lily play even for 5 minutes before he had to sleep. He thought about the way Eleanor had looked at him when she realized he had been the one arranging the music all along without ever asking for credit. He folded the contract and put it in the drawer where he kept Lily's old drawings. Then he went to bed at a normal hour for the first time in 11 years. He did not dream about pianos or night shifts. He dreamed about nothing at all. And when he woke up, the sun was already up, and Lily was sitting at the kitchen table eating toast she had cut into triangles herself. She looked up when she heard him, and smiled the way she smiled when she got a piece exactly right. "Good morning, Dad," she said. "I saved you the last triangle." He sat down across from her and took the toast. It tasted better than anything he had eaten in a very long time. Outside the window, the city was waking up. Inside the small apartment above the laundromat, for the first time in 11 years, Ethan Hale did not have to choose between his daughter's future and his own rest. He had both. And Lily, without knowing all the pieces yet, kept playing her piano every afternoon at 4:15 when she got home from school, wearing her lucky socks, and asking her father questions he answered as honestly as he always had. Some nights, when the apartment was quiet, he still thought about the dark hallways of the conservatory and the music he had carried inside him for so long. But he did not miss the nights. He missed nothing about them, because every time Lily played, he heard the reason he had done it all, and that was enough. Lily never asked again why he had worked the night shifts for so long. She did not need to. She understood in the way children understand the important things, not with words but with the way she saved him the last triangle of toast, and the way she looked for him first after every recital. She knew her father had given her something no one else could have given, and Ethan knew that the girl at the piano was the only audience he had ever truly needed. The Foundation Gala that spring was the best one they had ever put on. Ethan sat in the audience with Lily beside him. He did not stand on the stage. He did not need to. The music he had helped shape was played by people who now understood it the way he had always understood it, from the inside out. After the gala, Eleanor found them near the back of the hall. Lily was already half asleep against her father's side. Eleanor looked at the two of them for a moment, and then said the only thing that needed to be said. "Thank you for staying." Ethan nodded. He did not say he had stayed for Lily. He did not have to. Eleanor already knew. They walked out into the cool night together. Lily woke up just enough to ask if they could have pizza on the way home. Ethan said yes. Eleanor said she would see them at the next lesson. Lily waved sleepily from the car window as they drove away. Ethan drove with the windows down. The city lights blurred past. Lily fell asleep again in the back seat, her lucky socks still on her feet, her hand resting on the new music book Eleanor had given her. He glanced at her in the rearview mirror and felt the same quiet certainty he had felt every night, for 11 years when he left for work, and every afternoon when he came home. He had done what he set out to do. His daughter could play, and he was there to hear it. That was all that had ever mattered.